going to figure out contouring. We're going to do our first contouring. And we're going to be making a front bodice lining piece, a back bodice lining piece, so those two get sewn together, and a facing piece that this will get sewn to. So if we can kind of visualize the inside of the dress. We've got the facing that'll face the lapel and the whole front of the skirt. We've got the lining piece, which is kind of the top of the camisole, and the back bodice piece. So we have this piece from last week, yeah? Our lapel, our extra front bodice with the lapel. We're going to slice that piece up into parts. So we're going to have a little bit of a lapel facing, and we're going to have our front bodice coming out of this. I do have notes all over this one, and I'm going to put this up on the board. It'll help you with measurement reminders or what angle a line should be, that kind of thing. But I'm going to do one here and cut this one up. So you'll have one still intact and one cut up. Okay, so what do we need on this piece? If we know that we want this contoured, we need to have some contour lines marked in. Well, this is kind of like a strapless dress. I mean, it will have a strap, but it's not really going to do very much work. If I took this piece, do I want to do it? I've been wanting just to lop one off and put it up there, but I want to use these pieces. If I just took this bodice piece and cut off the shoulder and armhole and closed the darts, what would happen is there would be some gapping happening here. And there's a little, I love this dress, but there is a little gapping. Okay? Do you see how this is sticking out beyond the bust? Okay? This looks like, and I love this dress and I love this student, so it happens to be a fantastic dress with one little problem that I would fix. And that would be I would tighten up right here, okay, so that it's holding to her body and she can like bend over without spilling out, okay? So if we just chopped off our bodice, what would happen is we would have this gapping here because she does curve in above her bust. And if we curve our piece in once it's chopped up, it will fit and flatter her better. Okay? So thank you, Ashley. All right. So what we're going to do is we need to transfer our 3-inch or 6-inch circle, our 3-inch radius circle, from this piece to this piece. And you need, you can do it with a push pin and a board, or you can use like 2 pencils or whatever. But you need to line up your apex and your pencil. Oh, they're going to spin on me, aren't they? Or you can use a compass. Okay, line up the apex and secure it with a pen or a pin. And then we'll spin around for our 3-inch circle, 3-inch radius circle. I don't really need the whole thing. I can put the whole thing in, but what I really want is this top part, okay? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the apex mark to the center of the shoulder. So do you remember this? I think it was guideline number 7 or whatever, this little strapless wedge. That little strapless wedge. That strapless wedge was centered over this shoulder line, this mid-shoulder line. So I'm going to draw that in. And that's going to serve 2 purposes. One, it's going to let me know where that wedge needs to be, and the other, it's going to let me know where the strap ultimately is going to be. Okay? So we've got 2 sets of contouring that we're going to care about on this. One is the strapless wedge here, and the other is this 1/8 of an inch stuff at the top. Because if she's wearing a camisole with a small strap, it's going to settle into the hollow at her shoulder. So we're going to have the strap not end up here. We're going to have the strap end that 1/8 of an inch below so it can settle down onto her shoulder. So there are 2 contour lines we need to indicate now on this pattern. So I'm going to put them in a color just so that you guys can see it, but you can absolutely do this in pencil. So I'm going to mark on this line at the top an 1/8 of an inch below. And I know it's just going to be a strap, so I don't need to worry about the whole thing. Just a skinny little strap. So I know my strap is going to end there. Now down here, if I've written in my measurements, I know that this wedge is going to be 7/8 of an inch for strapless. So that amount I pinched on that prom dress was probably about 7/8 of an inch. So I'm going to put half of it on one side and half of it on the other. So what's half of 7/8? 7/16. So 2, 4, 6, 7. So that's just a 1/16 less than a half on both sides of that line. And I'm going to connect that wedge to the apex. I don't need to draw in any of the other contour lines, only the ones that matter for this particular item. Okay.
So if you're making the strap go, you could make a strap go anywhere on the shoulder if you wanted, or is that just
it'll fall there anyway. Like think about when you carry a bag, it'll go into there. If you're wearing a bra, it'll go into there. Like that's just where it wants to fall. You know, different people might have different shaped shoulder muscles and it might go one way or the other, but it's gonna want to live where you're lowest. So you may as well plan for it in the first place. Okay, then what we're gonna need to do is we're gonna connect the apex to our dart leg lines at the bottom. We're gonna do some slashing, kind of like pivotal, or not pivotal transfers, like a slash and spread to move our contour little mini dart up here down into this waistline dart. So we're going to manipulate that down in a little bit. Okay. So since we do need to close this up, it has to go someplace, and I can choose to put it here or I can choose to put it there. I'm going to choose to put it down there eventually so that my pattern will remain flat. Okay. So it's still the same like total value of angles. I'm just moving it around. Yeah.
Why is it better to put it in the waist dart than the side seam dart?
Doesn't matter. You could split it up if you wanted to. I've got this same size dart happening on the outside, so I figure, you know, whatever. And if it gets too big down here, I can trim out the seam allowance like we did on that last pattern. So honestly, that doesn't matter. Good question. But we're just going to put it down there for ease. All right. Now I need to know where my break point is. Remember we had like a little notch where our break point is. So our placket was straight to there. And then from there up, we added a lapel. What we're going to be doing is from that break point, we're going to kind of draw in a style line for the top edge of this camisole. Now we will be binding this, and it'll be a little bit easier to bind a straight-ish line. So we don't want to go super, super curvy. And we do want the camisole to be out of the way of all of this sleeve business and all of this, that, you know, you get this big hunk of side seam stuff happening here. So we want it out of the way. We also want the camisole to cover the bust mound. So we're going to use this 3-inch circle to help us kind of know where to put this top edge. So what we're going to do is to get it out of the way of all the sleeve mess here. On the side, we're going to drop down 1.5 inches. And you're going to square a little bit of a line from that side seam edge. Okay. And then our goal here is to kind of blend this in the shape of the armhole up to this circle. So we're kind of doing that.